Well, it sure knows how to make an entrance. The Simagic GT Neo is, in my opinion, undoubtedly the best value sim racing wheel available today. It really is amazing for the cost. 300mm width, tons of illuminated buttons and dials with telemetry interaction, dual clutch paddles, full metal quick release, open compatibility with other quick releases, full direct USB connectivity so you can use it on all wheelbases, even sim hub compatibility. There are multiple things in the spec list that just shouldn't be, not for this money. It's not all sunshine, the grips are a real letdown to the point where they might be deal breakers for some, more on that later, but overall the good resoundingly outweighs the bad. With such a low price, I feel as though the GT Neo's job isn't to actually make Simagic a load of profit directly, but I actually feel like it's been made to turn heads and get people's attention and have people looking Simagic's way that maybe wouldn't have done before. And I feel that way because that's exactly what it did to me. I didn't pay much attention to Simagic before now, but upon this release, I had to start paying attention. This is all to say that this seems to be excellent value for money and cannot be ignored. Regardless of which brand you typically follow, it gives you a lot for the £300 it costs. This could be £500 easily, and it would still seem like strong value. Let's run through it. As with most of my hardware reviews, the unit in question, the GT Neo, has been supplied by Simagic free of charge in order to make this video possible. However, my words are my own. I don't review things unless I have complete free reign to say what I think, and Simagic has made no attempt to interfere or influence the review at all, and they haven't seen this before you have. Watch the whole video through before you make a decision, but should you go on to purchase a GT Neo, doing so through one of the affiliate links in the description through my partner distributors helps support the channel at no added cost to you. However, for transparency, you'll also find a full resellers link there too. That takes you straight to Simagic's page, which lists all the resellers in all regions. Make sure you check that as well, because whilst buying through my partnered links helps support me, they may not necessarily be the best fit for you where you are. So don't forget to check that full reseller list before you buy. Inside the box, you'll find the wheel itself, a 300mm wide GT style wheel with a forged carbon style body which, according to tech specs, is an injection molded carbon fibre composite material. But overall, it looks like a focused and no-nonsense wheel, almost dictionary definition in its approach, no reinventing the wheel, just making it flashier for cheaper. Everything feels solid, but that isn't always a plus point depending on where you're looking. The grips are a hard polyurethane material with a soft touch coating which tricks your hands into thinking it's rubber, but it's not. So the grips do feel pretty Spartan, probably the biggest indicator of cost control, as even the grips on both the Fanatec GT3 McLaren V2 and the Moser KS are much more plush than these. More detail on that in a bit. But the shifter paddles feel great, super direct with a short and binary feel with reach adjustment. The travel is also cushioned either side with rubber pads making them super quiet and super fast. It takes effort and expense to put those rubber cushions in, and there are plenty of other wheels that cost far more that never bothered. Now you're going to be shifting thousands and thousands of times on this wheel, so it's important that the shifter paddles feel good, and these do. They really are so nice. In general, I'm not a massive fan of a forged carbon look, but I'm not a massive fan of forged carbon to begin with, but you can't deny they've done a good job of just reproducing that effect. It really does give the wheel quite a bit of an attitude. The dials and buttons look really nice, nothing too kooky or weird, which to me is a wise choice, and I've already put my stickers on the left and right side buttons to customize the look of it. Also in the box are sticker sheets, quite a few of them. Some for the wheel directly, but some with just Simagic branding, and the presence of these is important. They don't skimp on stickers, and that gives me the impression that they're proud of themselves, and by indicating that to you, it's kind of infectious. You can't help but join in the sentiment and be proud of what you now own. It can mount directly to Simagic wheelbases via the quick release connection, so if you're a Simagic wheelbase owner then you're good to go, nothing more to add. For mounting the GT Neo to a non-Simagic base, that'll all come down to the system your manufacturer uses, but in essence you just replace the Simagic quick release with a system applicable to you. Here I am swapping it out for the VRS hub so I can attach it to my VRS Direct Force Pro base. The fact the QR is open and interchangeable with other 6-bolt or 3-bolt quick releases is another big plus and very considerate to sim racers as a whole. Because I'm using a non-Simagic wheelbase, the connection to my PC will need to go via an external cable. It can't be done through the quick release, which is fine, that's normal for such a scenario. However, it's heavily implied that the optional MagLink cable is required in order to use it on other wheelbases, and whilst I'm sure that's technically true, I actually had no issue connecting it to my PC via the standard USB-C port with the help of a generic coiled cable, and I've been using it in this manner. However, your mileage may vary, and considering the MagLink is around 20 quid, and considering they do recommend it, it's probably best just to get it and be on the safe side. Once online, the wheel breathes into life with this very impressive startup display, which does a great job of demonstrating that this wheel is not a joke, it is actually very capable. Simagic's SimPro software can control the wheel's onboard gadgets, and within it you can assign colours to different switches, adjust the RPM strip, and you can assign telemetry activation to them as well. So if you want the wheel to flash certain buttons when you've got the pit limiter on, or if ABS is getting tripped, or to alert you to track flags, it's all here and it's all pretty simple. However, just as things couldn't get much better, it turns out the GT Neo is compatible with the third-party app SimHub. That means you have ridiculous levels of freedom with lighting effects and more. SimHub can do things that SimPro just cannot. Activating lighting effects on complex telemetry basis, such as spotter calls if there's a car left or car right. If you have a tinkering mindset, then you'll love SimHub, but there are a bunch of talented people that have paved the way for you with pre-made profiles if you don't want to delve into it. The bottom line is that SimHub compatibility allows you to use the onboard lights completely freely. More colours available and more complex delivery of them can be achieved. It is addictive and it's a big plus for the GT Neo. So let's go driving. Here's where I'm going to find out if it's all show or not, because from experience I'm fully aware of how steering wheels can fall down when you're a few laps in, one way or another, either through uncomfortable grips, annoying shifters, all sorts. The good stuff is that the wheel feels excellent for posture, with a 300mm width and a completely neutral offset on the hand grips. It's a crowd pleaser ergonomically because almost everyone will get on well with its layout. The grips themselves have a decent amount of depth to them, they don't fall into the trap of being too small, at least for me. But whilst they are sculpted very nicely, they don't feel great, and that's down to the materials. That very hard polyurethane material with a very thin top coating just doesn't quite cut it for me, and it will be the case for some of you as well, I just know it. Now some of you are going to find these grips uncomfortable without gloves because they are really hard, they're not cushioned in the slightest, they're just hard plastic with a coating on top to add the touch and feel of them. But otherwise, if you're on anything above 10 Newton meters of power, they might be quite uncomfortable without gloves. So if you hate wearing gloves, then you're gonna have to suck it up because these really do kind of demand it. Especially considering as well that they have no absorption qualities. So if you have perspiring hands when stuff gets, pretty rough and heavy, then you're gonna find that your grip also falls off completely on these. So gloves are really a must. And I do really wish they kind of put a little bit more effort into the grips, because even if it bumped the cost up by 20-25 quid, it would have been so worth it because everything else on the wheel is excellent. It's really just the grips that kind of let the side down, because this grip material, I've seen this grip material before on cheap mods for the Logitech wheel and the Moser ES Formula mod. That's the same kind of hand feel as this, so it is a bit of a letdown, and they could have done a little bit more in this area to make this wheel really completely perfect. The grips just let things down a bit because they're the part of the wheel that you're in contact with the most, but everything else is so good that it more than makes up for it. It's just a shame that they have to. The shifter paddles are excellent to use. I love the way they feel. They're really quiet and really sharp. They might be the best feeling shifters I've used so far, full stop. Very nice. All dials, buttons and switches across the rest of the wheel feel of good quality for the price. Once again, I'm having to repeat to myself that this whole wheel is only £300. Car control is excellent with this. Any bigger and you'd get a numb feeling, any smaller and the wheel can be quite busy and darty. 300mm is to me the sweet spot between the two. With gloves on, this is one hell of a wheel, it really is. Really does seem like a gift to the mid-range, bringing so many features to it that are normally guarded by the high-end, all while still feeling super solid. It doesn't come across as a hollow shell, it feels tightly packed and well made, well proportioned. A little bit harder on the hands than I'd ideally like, but the rest of it is absolutely brilliant. So the sun seems to shine out of this thing, but you know, what is the catch? And to me, I think because first impressions are so good with this wheel and it appears to work perfectly fine. I've been using it for a week, which is not a long time, but I've been looking into everything. That only really leaves one thing that it can fall down on, and that's durability and maybe quality control, specifically to do with the grips. There are pictures you can find of people's GT Neo hand grips exhibiting quite harsh wear and tear, and some of them reportedly after just a few weeks. And there's enough people reporting that to suggest that maybe the grips really are the GT Neo's Achilles heel. However, you can also find plenty of contrary testament with no problems at all, so as with most things, you could be completely fine. One of the grips on Jardier's GT Neo famously broke off completely after only a few months, but that was put down to it being a pre-production model. I'd probably judge it to be more likely just a plain old manufacturing defect, and if they said that, I'd believe it. These things do just happen in manufacturing. They can't all be perfect. And the reason that I think that maybe durability and quality control might be the most likely thing that things will fall down on, if any, is because I've kind of been here with Simagic before. The very first Simagic product I ever had was the Simagic P1000 pedals, reviewed only earlier this year. In that review, I considered them to be excellent, a really good first impression of Simagic with the first product that had ever passed through my hands from them. But a week later, a week after posting that review, the load cell failed on a brake, just completely. That hasn't happened to me with any other pedal set that I've ever tried, and although it puzzled them, it puzzled me. It was replaced under warranty with the help of the distributor, Race Anywhere, so at least it was well handled. Ultimately, there's a 1-year warranty with a GT Neo. It's a bit of a stretch to expect such a function-packed wheel with such a low price to be absolutely perfect for every single unit, but enough time has passed since the GT Neo's release to have heard about any really bad systemic design flaws. If it's just grip, wear and tear on a minority of wheels, then a lot of us will happily swallow that for the price paid, because in all other respects, nothing else out there today really competes with this at this price. Now this is a moment where your experiences are so important and useful. So if you have a GT Neo, let me know how yours is going, how long have you had it, any issues, or is everything perfectly fine? Just check in. It's so useful to the people that are watching this video and to me as well, because I cannot know everything, and a short-term review simply cannot dig under the skin and get to the grit of the useful things that we might want to know from long-term users. So if you contribute, thank you very much, but we'd all like to know how yours is going. And if anything ever goes wrong or changes with my GT Neo, I'll stick it in the pinned comments as an update for you to see. So there we are, the Simagic GT Neo. I was impressed with the Moser KS when it was released. This absolutely smashes that to bits in almost every way. It absolutely acts like a high-end wheel, but at lower mid-range money, and no other wheel seems to do so much so well for so little. If you were considering a GT Neo, then I think you'll be very pleased with it, and even if you aren't, then this should be strongly considered if you're looking for absolute maximum value for money from a wheel. This must rank as one of the very best I've reviewed on that front and cannot be ignored. Thank you for watching. Please feel free to add questions and comments, and if you enjoyed this, do leave a like and subscribe for more. Don't forget that the description includes info on retailers holding the GT Neo. Using those links helps me out mega, so thank you for that. Cheers again.